Hi, my name's Raleigh Culp. I'm an amateur videographer, and one of my friends asked me to help her with a project. She said she had some amazing testimonials about this product that she knows a lot about, and she really needed somebody to help her get them on tape. And I told her I'd be happy to do it. Obviously, I mean, everybody likes a little bit of extra side money. So I said to myself, sure, I'll go set up the camera, take a couple testimonial videos for you, no problem. Little did I know that I was going to receive an education in technology mats, is what everybody's calling them. Apparently, what I heard, I would have never expected. I talked to about 15 different people that experienced some amazing results from a piece of technology that sounds like it's second to none. I ended up spending probably a good 4 or 5 hours with all these people, and I heard their stories even more than what's on the video, and it blew me away. It literally blew me away. So what I'm introducing to you here is 15 stories that are probably going to blow your mind. I hope you enjoy them. Please listen to the stories, enjoy the stories, and if you like the stories and wish you were one of them, check out the technology that these people are talking about. It'll change your life. Thanks.
My name is Bill Milan. I'm from Clearwater, Florida. I'm 64 years old, and I wish I knew the importance of a better diet and taking care of myself years ago, but I didn't, so it all caught up with me. Uh, I was totally disabled. I I couldn't work. My back was so horrible, um, just agonizing. So within the first 6 weeks of this technology, my back was doing way better. So then I thought, oh, I'm going to go on to handling my intestines. And I ended up with the worst possible condition you can have with the intestines. Um, and I can say now, I have handled it. So that is like, wow, I am so happy. And from then, I also successfully avoided the need for surgery with my brain. I had a brain tumor in my pituitary gland. Um, just, I mean, it would have destroyed me to get that surgery, and I avoided it. So it's not that I just told the doctor I didn't want it. He told me I didn't need it. You know, that was amazing. So, in three major ways, I avoided major surgeries, to make a long story short, and I had the worst conditions you can have. And now, I also learned the hard way about being on a better diet, which goes along with things. But with this technology, it made it so much faster. All of a sudden, it would just get all the right ingredients to the right areas very quickly. And I reversed it all. So it can be done, and I just really feel strongly to encourage others to do that instead of sitting around on the porch and taking drugs. So, long story short. And so now I can even tell you another thing. Along with my brain situation, I had really low testosterone, and I couldn't understand why. I also had the problem where the bones are going to break easily. Um, and so I was trying to figure out that relationship, and I was being guided by an endocrinologist, a very brilliant one. He had me attempt different things, but it wasn't until I used this technology that the testosterone actually went into a high normal, and that was along with handling the brain tumor, which also, just by coincidence, resolved the problem I had with my prostate. So I handle it all at the same time, with the testosterone levels coming up in a natural way with this technology. And it's, I have to say, I definitely credit my life and being alive to this technology. So I would say, do all you can to just get on it. Just get on it, that's all. Just get on it.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Newbold from Pinellas Park, Florida. And before I purchased my own personal medical device, I had lower back issues and a little bit in the upper neck area as well. And I was even in the emergency room. They would come in the middle of the night with a big long syringe and stick it right here and did nothing for me to get me out of the agonizing discomfort that I was in. And after I got my personal medical device, and I also went to a little bit of chiropractor, I can do anything I want now. I don't have that catch in the lower back, and I suffered for over 30 years with issues. I had 2 episodes where I was injured with my lower back, and I can tell you it has been worth every penny. Hi, my name is Marilyn Newbold from Pinellas Park. And before I got my personal medical device, for at least 15, maybe even 20 years, I would be out and about, and all at once this feeling would come over me, and I just couldn't stand it. I just had to come home and just drop into bed for 2 or 3 hours every single day. And as soon as I got my own personal medical device and had it in my home, I haven't had to take not one nap. And it's been a miracle for me. The last 3 years, not one nap, unless I just want to cuddle up in bed, that's different. But I just love my personal medical device. It's mean to everything to me, so I don't have to come home and drop into bed and have that feeling come over me anymore. So I love my personal medical device.
My name is Yvonne Ford. I live in Clearwater, Florida. And several years ago, we heard about this terrific technology. And even though I was in my late 70s, I had really good energy. And so we bought the technology and started using it. And I was wearing monovision contacts. And within a couple of days, they weren't right anymore. And so within a week, my vision dramatically changed and continued to change for probably 2 or 3 months. I went from a +6 reader in my left eye to a 4.5, and my right eye for distance went from +2.25 to nothing. So I'm very pleased with what the circulation has done for my vision. And I'm pretty active, and we have rental property that I work on. And one day I tripped on a drop cloth on a tile floor and went down really hard. And I hurt all over. So I came home and immediately started using the B-spot on my knee, which was really severely skinned. And watching the time, all the discomfort that I had from the fall was completely gone in 5 minutes. And so also with my vision, the floaters disappeared. And if I have any joint problem for any reason, I just put the B-spot on it or the B-pad, and I do that also over my vital organs and over my liver. We don't tend to flush our livers like we do for the car, And so I've been very happy to see the results of using the B-pad over my vital organs and especially my liver. I love it. It works great. It works all the time, not just part of the time.
Hello, my name is Jack Holmesy. I am 58 years old. I am from Clearwater, Florida. I have been using this technology for about 3 years. The things that I've noticed different in the past 3 years is I've been having a hard time seeing at night when I drive. Ever since I've been using this technology, I don't even need my glasses. I see it a lot better. Another thing is that 5 years ago I had some blood work done, and I just had it done again about 3 weeks ago, and my testosterone level has more than doubled than what it was 5 years ago. I do a lot of running, I do a lot of exercising. The technology, to me, is wonderful. It really helps. I started running maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Now, ever since I've been using it, I have no issues running 5 times a week. I recoup quick. I'm a big fan of this technology, and if anybody has any questions, try it. Just try it for a couple weeks, and I think you will be impressed. Thank you.
My name is John Crescitelli. I live in Bel Air, Florida. And my story is, a year and a half ago, I fell and broke my neck. It was the vertebrae just near the Adam's apple, and I spent 5 days in the hospital with several surgeons recommending surgery. But with that surgery, the possibility of paralysis was a concern. A friend of mine who has the technology recommended that maybe I should try it rather than surgeries. I brought it up to my surgeons, and they had not heard anything about it. So I opted out of surgery and went with using the mat, the technology mat. I used it for 6 weeks, went back to the surgeons, then I went back and used the mat on a weekly basis for another month, went back after 6 months for x-rays. I just had my yearly checkup. That's my story. I believe in that mat now. The doctors have now asked me several questions, and they don't say much, but I know that I believe in it. I believe in it right now. My life was saved. It really was. It was really saved.
I've been using the mat for 4 years, and I'm 80 years old. I take no medications. Everything checks out perfect. Blood pressure, cholesterol, everything. The doctors are always very curious how it happens. So I always tell them about the mat. And I use the mat more than eight minutes twice a day. I'll put the strap around my neck. I'll put the strap over my shoulders. I'll put the strap down my back. I'll put it around my hips. I'll put the spot on my hips. I'll put the strap around my knees, because we all know as we get older and you're a big person, your knees are going to wear out. I'll put the strap around my ankles. I'll put it on my heels and my feet. And the energy I have is fantastic. I'm full of energy. I still have a business where I clean ceramic tile floors, and I have contracts with the big hotels down here on St. Pete Beach. And if it wasn't for the mat, and I got to say this, every time I get on the mat, I go, thank you, God, for being able to, allowing me to be able to afford this mat. And that's the way I feel about it.
My name is Bob Campbell, and approximately 6 years ago, I developed extreme fatigue, and to the point where I would sleep 20 hours a day. I would wake up completely exhausted, It didn't matter how long I slept. I didn't have the strength to lift my cell phone. I literally went through that for 3 years. No doctor could help me. There was no medicine. They said I'm likely going to have it for the rest of my life. Um, I was introduced to this bioenergy mat, and I had some other issues that were going on that were pretty severe. The first issue went away in 5 days that I had had for 3.5 years, which was amazing. Then I still was exhausted, still tired, but the last day of the 5th week that I was on the mat, I woke up with so much energy. My body was telling me to go climb a mountain. That's the only way I can explain it. I got up, I got dressed, which I almost never did. I went outside, which I almost never did, and I began to walk. Not only did I walk, I literally power walked a mile. And when I got back, I couldn't believe it. It was so surreal. But I've been fine ever since, and that was 3 years ago. And the other main thing that was wrong is I had to have both knees replaced, and I had one replaced. Then I got very ill, and I couldn't get back to get the second knee replaced, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise because I no longer need it replaced. So I highly recommend, if you have any issues, just lay on this mat, is all I can say.
Hi, my name's Ann Harrison, and I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, and I've had my Ultimate Mat now for about 3.5 years. And when I got to the mat, for the first 7 days, I really felt absolutely nothing. Twice a day for 7 days felt absolutely nothing. Then on the 8th day, I remember going for a walk with my husband, the same walk that we had taken for 15 years, 3 times a week, 1 mile walk. And into that walk halfway, all of a sudden I just felt like running. Now I didn't run because I didn't want to fall and make a fool of myself, but instead of that, I happened to notice that I had the spring back in my step, the kind of spring that in the step that I used to try to imitate 20-year-old women walking down the street with that little bounce. And after taking 5 steps, I said, wait, that's way too much work for me. So I just reverted right back to my normal walk. But since that day, for 3.5 years, I find that I do have that bouncy spring in my step. And sometimes I embarrass my husband when I come home and I said, well, I felt like skipping down the street, so I skipped 25 yards. And he says, how could you do that? You're embarrassing me. And I said, look, if I feel like I'm 20, I'm going to act like I'm 20. And so since that time, for the last 3.5 years, I pretty much can, if I do it twice a day, get up at 7 in the morning and I can go strong till 11 o'clock at night without even needing any naps, any caffeine, any Coke to keep my energy up. No, this device keeps my energy up the entire day, and I love my Ultimate Mat. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Crystal. I'm 37. I'm from the Pasco County area. I ran into this technology mat about 3 or 4 years ago, and it has changed my world. I used to have this acid burning feeling in my stomach and my esophagus, and it would wake me up in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, and I started laying on this and noticed about 3 months in that I wasn't having that anymore. And I also would get these really bad throbbing headaches that would just ruin my world also. So I would lay on the mat, and twice a day for 8 minutes changed everything.
My name is Annie DeCoker. I live in the Tampa, Florida area, and I was introduced to this technology about almost 4 years ago, and I was going along in my regular life, working my job and doing my sport, which I love. I get to keep my sanity by jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I was practicing with my team, and later in the afternoon, after several jumps that we did, our whole team, very close to landing, got kind of struck by a freak wind shear, kind of a bad air burble that kind of pushed us down. So at 30 feet off the ground, everybody got a hard landing. Those guys pulled their hamstrings and sprained their ankles. But for me, I got hurt bad. I had my first bad landing in 20 years of skydiving. And I broke all the big bones in my body. So it was like a fraction of an instant, and I was broken in the ground 4 inches with what ended up being broken back, both hips, and it snapped my femur in half. So that was the first time I got to experience broken bones like that. So, you know, I just do things all out in a big way whenever I do something, I guess. And the orthopedic surgeon predicted a very long recovery and explained that these are very big structural bones in the body, and I may never really get back fully to function like I was before, depending on how everything was going to heal, and it was going to take 6, 8, maybe 9 months, and wasn't going to make any promises. So he said you can't even begin therapy or rehab until these bones heal first. So I was bedbound, and they did surgery and put rods and pins and screws in, and I couldn't really bend. I was laying on my 2 broken parts, and well, 3, and I remember thinking how much we take for granted when we lay in bed at night, just to shift a little bit on a hip, just a slight. I couldn't do that, and that was agonizing. So they sent me home with a boatload full of the medication that they give you to stay ahead of that, and I went right on their program. They're the expert and the professional, so I was so stiff and even more agony. So you take more, and that knocks you out, and there's a cycle which ends up being really depressing. Those 10 days when I was on their program was awful. And then my friend called me and was questioning how I was doing, given that I have this mat and this injury, and I was like, oh no, this is way beyond. And she just threatened me on the phone and said, if you don't start using that thing, I'm coming over there and break your other leg. So I was like, okay, 8 minutes, whatever. And I put one of the smaller devices on a place that was just really throbbing, like on a scale, probably like a 9. And in 8 minutes, I literally couldn't believe my own body. I still couldn't believe my own body could feel that much better that fast in 8 minutes. I'm like, there's no way this is happening. Like from a 9 to a 3 or 4. The thing is, it was real, and I have never taken another pill from that point forward for any reason. I got out of my wheelchair, I started rehab right away, because they work you out, they hurt you. And I would finish with them and again be just throbbing. And I went home, lay on the mat, fall asleep. And I remember the first time I woke up, I remember dangling my legs over the edge of the bed like, okay, we're gonna bear weight. And that was so hurty in rehab. And I remember just slowly kind of like, okay, this is gonna really be sore. And it wasn't. I was like, what? I went to rehab with no medication, 15 days. I was done with everything before the 3-month mark hit. So I was way ahead of the 6 month, way ahead of the 8 or 9, or I didn't ever miss a single day. I wasn't sick. I mean, your system is just flowing. Everything is good and strong, and it's been that way. It's just awesome. I love it.
Hi, my name is Emily Hagan. I'm 71 years old. I've had a history of being in 3 different car accidents over 30 years, been in constant discomfort. I have 10 herniated discs, 5 in my neck and 5 in my low back. Used to walk on the beach, couldn't walk on the beach, had to use an electric cart grocery store. Really ruined my life pretty much. couldn't work, had to be at home because I couldn't sit at a computer all day because I would be in too much discomfort. And my husband had severe end stage COPD. So we were really looking more for something to save him. And I went to look up a particular company on the internet, and instead I got intercepted by this other company called IMRS, and they kept saying, "Oh, they were better," and the things the other company said about having a contract with NASA was a lie, and I believed them. I actually paid $6,000 for their apparatus, and used it for both my husband and I used it for 3 to 4 months. Got absolutely no relief. Nothing changed. I became a distributor at first because I thought, oh, this is going to be great. They offered absolutely no support, no brochures, nothing, you know. So anyway, several years later, a friend of mine who was very active with this particular technology loaned me her mat. And by that time, unfortunately, my husband had passed away. He might still be alive if we had been able to get this one instead. But anyway, in 2.5 days, I was completely out of discomfort. I mean, I had been taking ibuprofen, and my doctor took me off of it, and the only thing I could use and that only took the edge off so I could function. And I had to go back to work, and I had to sit at a computer all day, and there were times I'd have to sit with an ice pack tied to the back of my neck because I was in so much discomfort. So anyway, within 2.5 days, feel like I got my life back. I can walk on the beach, I can stand, I don't have to use an electric cart in the grocery store. I can go to a museum with my grandsons. I mean, it changed my life. So after she had loaned it to me, then I had a very valuable piece of technology, a medical device as well, different biofeedback program. And she traded with me, and I have my own mat, and I use it at least 3 times a day. I can sit at a computer. I'm now working 5 days a week, all day long, and it's a miracle.
I'm Jerry Ford from Clearwater, and we have had our German medical device for almost 5 years. And about 5 years ago, a little longer than that, I had a serious heart issue which required 2 surgical procedures. And about 2 months after the second procedure, my symptoms returned, my chest, discomfort returned. So about that time, we acquired this German device, and I started using it twice a day, 8 minutes in the morning, 8 minutes in the afternoon. And in addition, I used the strap that came with it as some accessory, and I put that across my chest. And took about a month, all my symptoms disappeared. I haven't had one since. Another thing that occurred was I used to play a lot of golf, and I got to where my hands would hurt so much when I'd take a divot, I couldn't even hold the club. I dropped the club when I took a divot, so I'd curtailed my activities considerably. But about 2 months later, after we've had this device for a couple of months, I no longer had any discomfort in my hands. One day, about a month after we'd acquired this device, I was in the kitchen and I opened the cabinet, and up there were all my medicinal doses. And it just dawned on me I hadn't used one of those things in a month. And because I previously had considerable chronic head issues, and I haven't taken a single analgesic since then.
My name's Dennis Garrett. I was involved in a car accident about 4 years ago, and ended up with a fair amount of neck damage and some nerve damage that caused a significant amount of atrophy and loss of muscle. A lot of discomfort. Had one surgery, replaced a couple of discs, and the surgery was a success, but the outcome was not, and it caused additional compression and well, it caused the next discs down to additional stress on them, and the result of that was worse than the original damage. Was set up after 5 months of recovery, was set up for another surgery, and was degrading at that particular point. The atrophy in my arm, just to give you an idea, it had taken my bicep to where I could reach around it with these fingers. And so it was fairly significant. It was a life changer. I stumbled into this product quite by accident, and I have worked for 45 years in working in supporting the medical environment and medical community, and I thought I had seen about every piece of medical equipment that there was and integrated it, etc., and worked with them. So this was a surprise. I hadn't heard of it at all. I was consulting with an RN that had one of these, and we're dealing with another subject matter about business matter, and she, after about 3 hours into it, she says, "You're hurting, aren't you?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "Well, here, put this down your back." 8 minutes down my back, around my neck, and around my head, and I had a significant improvement just in that short period of time. I had been in a spot where the level of discomfort that I had it to where I was not unable to sleep, and I had not had a night's sleep for 5 months. The best I could do is sit and rest. So when I got home that evening, I actually laid down, and which I would not normally do. I fell asleep, and I woke up the next morning with my pain level much lower, and just determined that I needed to have one of these. Now the improvement that had happened with me, as significant as it was, I thought it was pretty significant. It gave me my life back, and took a length of time, but it's been quite a walk. And as significant as that was, the folks that I've had a chance to share this with over the last 4 years have made mine look like nothing, and it's pretty significant, and very rewarding, the changes that we have with that we've made with other folks, and been the most rewarding thing I've ever had the privilege of doing in my lifetime. I've done a few.
Hi, my name is Donald. I'm 74 years old. I'm a retired physician, and ever since I was introduced to this technology, when I started, I was taking 190 units of insulin a day, 2 types of insulin twice a day. Now I take 50. About 6 weeks into the process, I realized I was giving myself too much insulin, so I started cutting back. A couple of months ago, I was told by my doctors at the VA hospital that my body is now producing insulin, something it hasn't done since 1997. Along the way, I'm a veteran. I was a participant in the Southeast Asian War Games in the mid and late 60s. I was there for 3.5 years. And in the process, I came home with all kinds of problems that did not manifest themselves immediately, but as time went on, they did. I no longer take either one of my blood pressure medications. I no longer take my statin. I no longer take or use my hearing aids, all of which, thanks to this technology, have been alleviated. I don't need them anymore. What I'm going to tell you is that if I had known about this technology when I got home from Vietnam in 1969, I never would have gone through pre-med and gone through med school. I would have started with this technology and I would still be with it today. Now, I went to med school, but I didn't go to med school in this country. I went to med school overseas where we learned medicine as a whole instead of in fragmented parts where everybody's pitted against each other. So I was trained in chiropractic. I was trained in homeopathy. I was trained in naturopathy. Just not under those names, but it was the training. And I never practiced medicine in this country because I don't like the system here. I practiced all over the world, working for the World Health Organization for almost 40 years. I was introduced to this technology in 1999 in Hamburg, Germany, where I was doing an inspection of a hospital. And they showed it to me, and they told me that back then they put people on the unit for 8 hours a day. And they were having results, and I agreed with them, but I couldn't see any future in something that you had to lay on for 8 hours. Then last year in October, two friends of mine literally kidnapped me and took me to a training class. And the training class is where I learned about it. I got on the unit, I used it. 5 hours later, I did it again. And about a minute into the second session, I could feel my feet and legs. They were like I was slipping them into warm water. And for the first time since the early 90s, I could actually feel my feet and feel my legs. That was my neuropathy. Since then, I have no more neuropathy. And back last year in October, 4 weeks after I started with this technology, I went in for my annual eye exam, and I've had for 12 years a dead spot in my right retina. About 12% of the retina was dead, no blood flow. I went, they did another, they call it retinal mapping, they did it. And 5 weeks later, I went back to see my retinologist who was getting ready to remove a cataract and implant a lens. And she says to me after she's looked me over, she says, I'm going to do another retinal mapping. And I said, why? You just did one 5 weeks ago. She said, just bear with me, we're going to do it. She comes in, she puts them up on a large screen and says, do you see any difference in these last two as opposed to the 12 before? And yeah, I did. The one that they did at my annual exam was about 50% improved. I had, instead of 12% area, I had 6% area of my eye that had blood flow. The one she had done just moments before, I had 100% blood flow. Do I believe that this technology works? Yes, I believe it works. And if you don't believe it, shame on you.
So there you have it, folks. If you don't believe in this technology, then shame on you. I mean, I never thought I'd hear the things I heard, and just to be able to say that I was there to listen to them makes me feel great. If you guys are interested in learning more about this technology, this amazing mat that these people had changed their lives, please get in contact with the person that shared this video with you. More than likely, that person will know exactly how to get you one of these mats because they're probably enjoying it every day for at least 8 minutes a day. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure to share this with anybody that you think could use this video, this technology. Obviously, there's amazing things that can happen. So please share this video.